telling us, you were saying, Orestes, that your father was an opera singer.
My father came from Cuba to New York at the age of 16 and studied opera and, of course, Italian and a couple of languages. And he sang in Carnegie Hall, Metropolitan Opera, and all that. And then he went back to Cuba, married my mother, and I was born in Cuba.
Where in Cuba?
In Camagüey, Cuba. And then in '56, we moved to New York because he worked for Cuban Airlines. And we opened the Havana, New York route, yeah. The Super Constellations plane. But in '55, he came by himself and opened Havana, Chicago. But we stayed in Cuba until he was more settled here, so we stayed there for a year.
Where was Havana, Chicago?
The route?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it came out of which city? Camagüey or which city?
No,
Havana.
Havana. So you moved, at that point you had moved to Havana with your family?
No. That's another story. They picked the more well-trained or the best in Cuba to do this job, and they picked out of the whole island, they picked my father because he had been in New York already. He spoke English 10,000 times better than me.
And he could sing.
He could sing, and he spoke without an accent and all that.
He was the entertainment for
As a matter of fact,
they're going down.
He was a clown. He was a comedian. He knows it. He made a duo with Richard here. Richard and I went to school together, and we met when I was 12. I came to New York. And my father and Richard and me, we used to fool around with the tape recorder and sing. And my father and Richard always started laughing in the middle of the tune. We could never finish the tune.
Richard, you know since you were 12. Tell me when you would go to ask him to come and play with you guys. Hang out.
Well, the guys, there were 4 or 5 of us that hung out in the corner. We grew up in the west side on 72nd Street. He lived on 71st at the old Alamac Hotel.
That's right.
So we would hang out in the corner there, and where's Orestes? Oh no, he's home. Well, let's go get him. Knock on the door. Orestes? No, he would be there with a little bongo that his father had gotten for him. Something made of cardboard, something. And he had designed a symbol from the top of a talcum powder tin. And he had it with a wire hanger.
Well, how was it? It was a top of
the top of a tin.
And how did he make it into a symbol?
Yeah, he flattened it out, and he would put it on a wire hanger, and he would hit it, and it made a symbol out of it. And he would have a tape, reel-to-reel tape of Aragon most of the time, and he would be there imitating the sound of the timbales that he heard on. Because let me tell you, this guy could play any instrument from ear. He's got a great ear. As a musician, he could, sit down and just get the notes out of any instrument, including a wind instrument. Right?
Really?
So yeah. So that was how he started, and pretty soon,
And instead of going to hang out,
and then when we go to dances, he would be playing. We'd be dancing. The guys would be dancing. Ateneo Cubano, some of the other places that we could go to.
Yeah.
Mostly he started in Ateneo Cubano, La Belisario.
Well, Richard's brother used to work at the Ateneo Cubano, and then we were teenagers, so they didn't let us in. And the way to get in was like, well, can we help clean the place so that we could get in? So we went, and we cleaned the place, and they let us in for free. Right. So in the weekend, we were there, and then I got my connections with Oriental Cubano, Tata Vázquez, and started playing.
By the way, que ahí fue donde conocimos a Peter Conde.
Right.
Que cantaba con la Oriental Cubana.
Peter Conde, before I came into Oriental Cubana, was the conga player for Oriental. He was a conga player.
Yes.
Then he became a singer. Then I joined Oriental Cubana, and Pete went with the original Orquesta Nobel that belonged to Héctor Seno, a timbalero that I want to mention here because most people don't know that name. Before you ask me who were one of my idols, people that I looked up to, was Héctor Seno, because Héctor was New Yorker, and he played Cuban music with Oriental Cubana like nobody else at that time. He was playing the charanga style with the bass drum and stuff, and I said, man, this guy plays, no offense, Tito is my fan, and I admire Tito and everything, but my style was different.
And this man was a New Yorican, you said?
Yes, and my style came out of the charanga music. And I combined a few things. And this is one of the first, if not the first guy that I saw playing live in New York when I came. Héctor Seno. He was the founder of Orquesta Típica Nobel del 61. And the singers were Peter Conde and Vitín something.
Yeah.
He was a singer at the time.
Vitín Avilés?
No. Vitín, he sang with Pacheco in the charanga. That same Vitín. Pete and Vitín was the original singers with... and Henny Alvarez also sang with them. Because this is very important. I don't want people to think that because I'm here now in the museum that I'm ready to retire or that I'm yeah.
I don't think, no, it's a living museum.
No. I'm very active. I record records every year. I work every year. We have various groups. I work with Cachao. I go to Puerto Rico with Jimmy Delgado, and we have a band with 14 ball players, and we have done like Batalla de los Palos, and that. There's another page I have to give you that is an update of what I have done in the last 2 years, and that's one of the things, the Batalla de los Palos in Puerto Rico. We did it at SOB over here. We did it in a couple of islands in the Caribbean. So there's a lot of things that I've been doing.
Remember, this is not the first interview. We're going to go keep on interviewing, and of course, we don't mean to retire you because you're part of a museum.
No.
Now, you're living in Camagüey.
Okay.
You're living in Camagüey. Your father's doing all of this important work in transportation.
So they transferred him to New York, and we decided that we have to move to New York.
And how old are you then?
12.
Were you at any point involved with music in Camagüey or in your neighborhood back in Cuba?
I was. As a kid, I played the bongos, and my cousins used to play in a band, and they used to take me along like a mascot, is that the word, or something like that, you know, to kind of like look at the kid play, and they let me play a tune or something on bongos with the bands. They had La Orquesta Tridimensional y los Trovadores del 45. It was some typical bands that they were in Camagüey.
You play for the Orquesta Tridimensional?
Yes.
That's.
You remember that name?
I just what songs would you play, for example?
In those days,
what was your repertoire?
No. I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember.
Tu papa used to play the bongo, right? Your father used to be.
But within your family, there was percussionists.
My father used to play
the
guitar.
guitar.
But he showed me the basic of the bongo, which is the martillo. He showed me, but it was backwards. So when I moved to New York, I had to relearn it again, completely different, because he showed me the way they show him, and it was very campesino, you know, the style that they play the changui with, which is pre-sung. That's the old style which the lower bongo was on the left when you're right hand. So it was a different style, changuicero, viejo. But my uncle, which is a doctor, and he's still alive, and I have written this in a couple of articles, Rafael Misa, doctor, he's in St. Petersburg, Florida, retired already. He's the one that was a bongo player when he was studying medicine, and a tres player. And then he decided to quit because he was failing the
business,
the university. So he says, I'm not going to play this in 20 years. So after 20 years of being a doctor, then he came out with the tres again for fun. You know, he's not a professional. But I have to give him credit because he was the first one that bought me a set of better bongos.
So you were in Cuba, and the very first time that you were attracted to the instrument, you would say?
I was brought. My father brought me in Christmas a guitar when I was 5, and said you should study classical. And I started studying the guitar for about 6 months, and I said, man, I'm getting, my fingers are tired. I don't like this. So I turned the guitar around and started hitting the guitar like a bongo. I said, you know what? It sounds good. So that was the beginning